Hey guys, welcome to another session on Oracle Source Policy. So in today's session, we will continue to learn Oracle Business Rules component. So other day, we have seen the first part of business rules, wherein how to define simple if-else rules. Okay, and we understood how a business rule works, and we have also seen how to edit them at runtime, right? And we have understood that why editing rules at runtime is so important. So today let's continue the same topic. So if else rules you understood. So this is the one that we have done earlier. So if you look at the rule, it's quite simple. Like you will have n number of conditions inside this, okay, and then you will have all the conditions you will define, and then after the conditions what you wanted to do, okay, and each if then rule is basically evaluated, okay. So for it is not an if else, okay, it's basically an if you can have any number of rules, and then a set of rules, or rules are combined together to form a rule set, okay. The usage of rule set is basically you can filter the rule sets on this basis, like uh, okay, we will use it there. Okay, it's basically a bundling of rules, like you can enable them or disable them within your SOA composer. Okay, so let's look at the second way called the decision tables. So first of all, we'll understand when if-else rule wouldn't be so handy. Okay, we have understood that it's very simple. Then what is the purpose of having another one? Okay, so let us take this example. So this is what we have, right? Input was salary and output was bonus. So we had two simple if-then rules. We had if salary less than 20K and greater than 20K. Okay, suppose we need to compare, or we need to evaluate two elements in the input to get our output. Okay, let's say salary and designation are the ones that determine the bonus. So the various conditions you will have is if salary and bonus, say salary is less than X and designation is, say, I would say here designation wouldn't give you a proper meaning. I would say this as experience. Okay, so let's say your bonus is evaluated based on salary and experience. Okay, so you would have four conditions, right? A less than, less than, less than, greater than, and so on. Correct. Now, okay, even this is also easy to define if-then rules. Okay, fine. Let's assume that you have four different values within your input. Okay, so your designation here we have just less than or greater than, right? But let's say your bonus is evaluated based on your salary and your designation. Okay, and designation could be one of these four. Okay, it cannot be any name, right? It could be one of few values that your company gives you. So based on this, like how many conditions you will get it. So here salary less than so and so, and then designation is for each one. So here you get like salary is less than or greater than is 2, and then designation is 4. So 2 into 4, you'll get 8 conditions. So even here you're good. Okay. Only thing is your rule set would become like little bigger. Okay. Right now we have only 2, right? So if it was 8, then you would have seen like it's little bigger, not very readable. Okay. But still you can manage things. But let's assume your input is something like this, or maybe your bonus is evaluated in this way, wherein salary not simply like less than 20,000 and greater than 20,000, but instead if your salary is in a particular range, or if your bonus is evaluated based on your salary range and designation. Okay, so let's assume that these are the sample salary ranges. So if it's between 20 to 40K and PA, you get one bonus. If it's 20 to 40K and A, you get one bonus. Okay, so in that cases, like how many conditions you will have? Like here the possible values are 4, and then here possible values are 4. So you get 16 cases, right? So 16 combinations, you just imagine in a business rule, it becomes like quite lengthy, and obviously it is not very readable, right? So if you see here, like you need to go through that. Though it is readable, like you need to go through all the 16 to see if, I mean, let's say there is an issue, you wanted to check it out, like it's very difficult, right? And assume your input might be even complicated, like based on salary, designation, and experience. Okay, so here we have 5 values, 4 and 4. So it would be 4 into 4 into 5. So how much is it? Like 120, 16 fives is more 80 combinations. Okay, so when it is 80 combinations, obviously, if else, you can still write it, but obviously if it is not the one that you wanted to do. So instead, if you have something like this, first of all, we'll see that in a simple Excel format, and then we'll do the decision table. So our decision table is almost similar to an Excel sheet. Okay, so how it is let me merge it. Okay, so it would be something like this. PA, say this PA is programmer analyst, say associate, say senior associate, manager. Okay, and then under this you will have, say, less than 20. Okay, 20 to 40, this is my salary range, 40 to 60, and say there 60. Okay. I'll copy the same for here. So this is my okay. So if you see this, like having 16, even now these are also 16 different conditions, right? Like program analyst and 20, program analyst and this one. Okay, but here the readability is much more easier, right? Like if you want say senior associated 40,000, like you can directly go over here and do it. Just a moment, I'll put my charger. Okay, so just like that, just by changing the format, we have achieved a much better, uh, what do you call, a readability. Okay, so let's assume that there is another one called experience. Okay, and then there are like 5 ranges. So within this B cell itself, you'll have 5 different values. Okay, let's say I won't split that into 5 cells, but basically you understand, right? Let's say 2 years of experience, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. Okay, so like for each cell you'll have again 5 different. Okay, so you have all the 80 different combinations here itself. Okay, you can very clearly see that. So that is the advantage of just modifying the way that we look at things. Now let's say any combination you want, it's so readable, right? You can just go to associate. Let's say his salary is 70,000. So go into this and his experience is 5 years. Okay, what is the bonus? Okay, so I would calculate my bonus something like this. So there would be a team or HR team or your management team, whatever, who decides the bonus. So let's say it is something like this, 7, 8. By this one, I mean a new cell, okay? This is like a new cell, just assume that is a new cell. Say 7.5% and then say 6%, okay, 4%, and then so on, whatever. Okay, so let's assume you have all the values. So it's very easy to determine the bonus. Okay, now the advantage of this is usually these are the things that usually vary, right? The whole purpose of using business rules is for implementing things that usually vary or that frequently change, and these things are more it gives more meaning to a business analyst. So a business analyst, if he looks at this one, he wouldn't actually understand things, right? I mean, a little technical background if he has, he can go through, but a pure business analyst would feel very easy, or even your business guys would feel very easy to edit this kind of a table rather than this kind. That is the reason why you got Oracle decision table. Okay, so end of the day, Even your decision table works as a simple if else. So we see it like this, but internally it will actually generate all the set of if else. Okay, only thing is you don't see it. So that is how you build your business rules. Okay, so let us straight away see how do we use the business rules. Okay, and the advantage that Oracle Source Suite gives you is, let's assume that you, I mean, since this is like a very big range, let's assume that you missed this. Okay, Oracle Business Rule will clearly tell you that you have missed a particular range. Do you really mean it, or have you really missed it? So it will give you such hints. Okay, and let's assume that in this case, say this is also 8% and this is also 8%. Okay, so in this case there are like 160 cells, right? Assuming this is a cell. Okay, there are 160 different conditions, right? Now, like having 160 different conditions even is not readable. So here I see only 16, but assume these are 160. I have to scroll, right? So if your result is same, so I can actually merge these three, right? So I would say, instead of having three different cells for 8, I would say something like this. Okay, so for 3, 5 and 6 it's same, right? So I would say 3 comma 5 comma 6. Okay, so this way, like, I'll have one cell for 2, other cell for 4, and 3, 5, 6 is a single cell. Okay, and assume like you have 10 different 8s here, so you can actually merge those so that it becomes even more readable. So all these things Oracle Source Suite gives you. Okay, but ultimately the aim is to make it more readable and make it more maintainable. So let's see how we do it. It is exactly the same. Okay, so instead of having the if else rule or say general rules, you will click on the decision table. Okay, so when I click on this, you see something like, I mean, right now we don't have anything, but when you do things, like, you will see all the grids. Okay, so the example that we will do today will be this. So what we will do is, instead of like three cells, you just learn the concept, right? So we'll just take these two. Okay, what we will do is, let's not consider experience for now. Okay, so our input will be designation and salary. Okay, and then based on this we'll have different values. Okay, and see how we edit them using the composer and so on. Okay, so first of all we need to define an input, which is one string and one integer, and your output is an integer. Okay, so just to save some time, by the way, today's will be a very quick session. I mean, we will go through this example. It will take like another 15 to 20 minutes and we will finish off. Okay, so to save some time, I have already created a basic skeleton. Okay, so it doesn't have anything, but I just created the schema. Okay, so our input contains your designation and salary, and output is bonus. Okay, but these are not just pure inputs like we have given, like pure things, but it is basically a set of ranges. Okay, because your designation cannot be anything. I cannot say something like XYZ, right? It is an invalid designation. So our designation has to be in one of these four, and this is a salary. So salary could be anything. Okay, so after we define the schema, let us try to create the decision table. So drag and drop your business rule. I would call it as decision rules, or say decision service business rule. Okay, what is the input? Build from your schema. Similarly, output. Just let me know if you don't understand anything. Okay, and then this is the name. You can give whatever name, but just copy it. Okay? Copy it and put it aside. I'll tell you why it is. And then you finish it off. You want to expose it or not is your choice. Let's not do it. We'll do it within a Bickle. Okay. Now this is the basic skeleton. When you open this, you don't have anything. Okay, this is your basic input output, but nothing. Okay. Now, see, what are the basic prerequisites that we want for this decision table? So the value, the acceptable values for this input called designation is only these four, right? Okay. So for that to happen, there is something called a value set. Okay. So we have seen what is a global. A global is like a global variable which you can use it anywhere based just by the name. Similarly, value set is basically defines your acceptable set of values or ranges. So here first we will define the designation. So click on this and say value set. Okay. And you can double click on this and say edit. I would say it as designation, which is a list of values, which is of type string, and what are the values? I'll have four values. Within your code, say PA. What is the alias name? I would say programmer analyst. Okay. Why I give short forms is because if else, like I just need to use the code, right? So programmer analyst and say associate. These are like usable names. So instead of PA and A, you will see a full form names. These are like alias names. Okay. And then say senior associate. And then say manager. So our input would be only one of these three, one of these four. Any value you give, it goes to this condition. Otherwise, and say okay. Okay. So now we have defined the acceptable set of values, and also now our bonus is defined based on these ranges, right? So you will have to define these ranges. Okay. So how you do? Similarly, same value sets. In 11G, they call bucket sets. So bucket sets, value sets, both are same. Say range value set. Okay. Click on edit, and I would say salary range, or I would say simply salary. It should matter. And then we have four ranges. Okay. So the first one is how much? Greater than 60,000, right? So just enter 60,000. Here you will see greater than or equal to. So you want to include endpoint or not is your choice. Endpoint is basically if you want to include 60,000 or not. And similarly here you give 40,000. So it becomes 40 to 60 and then 20,000. Okay. So here are your ranges. Less than 0 anyways it's not possible. But the but one thing is But one thing is your range set will always take from minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay, so that's why you cannot remove. Even if you want to delete it, you cannot, because minus salary doesn't make any sense. But that is how, I mean, it will take care. So you just leave it. So 0 to 20, 20 to 40, we have all the ranges. Say finish it off. Okay. So these are the two things that we have input. Okay. So now we don't want to declare any globals or things like that. Coming to the rule sets, click on the decision table. Okay, maybe I'll call it as bonus calculation decision table. Okay, say finish it up. Okay, and then you can have its validity, all these things which you can do it. Okay, what is our condition? So our first condition is designation, which has like four values, and within these four you want the salary ranges, right? So let's do it the same way. So first of all, insert condition. So it will come like this. You can double click on this and then say our input dot designation. Okay. So I'm showing you again. So it's very simple. You just say, okay, a condition, or you can directly click on insert condition, whatever it is. By default, it will come something, but you can double click on it and select your thing. So I want inputs designation. Okay. Now what is inputs designation? You take it from designation value set. Okay. So when you click on this, since we have selected designation value set, it has come. So what all you want to select? I just want to select these four. Okay. or maybe even otherwise also, because if my input is something not valid, it will go to the otherwise section. Okay, so you want or not, it's your choice. Like for now, let's remove it. Okay, but see, unfortunately, all the 4 has come into a single cell. We want these 4 to come into 4 different cells, right? So you click on this and say here there is something called split selected cell, which you, when you click it, like it splits into 4 different cells. This is exactly what we want, right? Okay, done. So we want the next condition. Click on this and say condition. You can double click on this. Now in this case, I will select salary, correct? So salary is a range. So select your range. I mean, we have defined our value set, right? So select your value set. Okay, now based on our Excel sheet, basically this one should have all the 4, right? So just click on this and select whatever ranges you want. Okay, I want all the, obviously, I know that programmer analyst wouldn't have greater than 60,000, so I won't select it because anyways that won't come, right? Say OK. So I have got all the 3 into one cell, so I will say split cells, which will give me, see, programmer analyst 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60. I didn't select greater than 60,000 because it, I mean, appeared wouldn't have that. But just in case if you miss something and you want to add it, you can always do like this and then you can split it. Okay, so just in case you forget something, you can, or just in case you don't want something, you can delete it. Okay. So the same thing for associate. Associate minimum salary I know is 30,000, so I won't select it and say split select it. Similarly, senior associate minimum salary is 40,000 I know. So okay, basically unwanted things you don't do it because you don't want your decision table to be too big. Okay, that's all. So if you look at this, why is this not expanding? Okay, so if you look at this, basically you have all the different conditions just like our Excel sheet. Okay, so now based on this, okay, and see there is something called conflict resolution. Why? Because I mean here I have defined bucket sets or value sets here, so that is the reason there is no way there will be a conflict because I know what are the values. But if there is something that I want to define myself, let's say I don't have this value set called salary range, okay, then I have to define my own salaries here, right? So there, here I can give 20 to 40 and in the next cell I can give 30 to 50. So, sorry, so in that case, 30 to 40 is like a conflict, right? Conflict zone. So let's say this is like, here I cannot edit it because it is from the bucket set. But let's say if it is not there, I would say 20 to 40 and say this is 30 to 50. So when it is 35,000, it doesn't know whether to go into this or go into this. In that case, you will see a conflict here. That is what is called conflict here. So you see conflict resolution, right? In that case, you would have something like this here saying that there is a conflict. So it will tell you that there is a conflict if that input comes like you're gone. In that case, I mean, it will basically hint you and then you will make the corrections. So that is one other usage of having defining value set or bucket sets so that you don't do any errors, okay, unforeseen issues you can actually avoid. Okay, so once this is this, like what I want to do, I want to assign the bonus. So I will just say, let me redo it. So I'll just say insert action, assert new. Okay, basically I'm asserting what is that, my outputs bonus. Give a basic value, whatever it is. It may not be the final value. Say parameterized and constant. So when you say constant, it can be used in other functions. When you say parameterized, it can be passed to other decision tables. That's like a very advanced concept, okay? So for now, like you can just remember that if it is a constant, it can be used in functions. If it is a parameterized, you can use it for passing even to other decision tables. Sorry, other business rules. Just say okay. Okay, so by default everything will be 10. So you can now modify. Let's say this is 8. Okay. say this is 7, say this is 9, say this is 6. Okay, so let's assume this is 9. Okay, so we are done. We are done defining things. But even these are like how many cells? 9 cells I have. The lesser number of cells I have, the much better it is, right? So now here in this case, see, senior associate 40 to 60 and 60 to like greater than 60 are exactly same, right? So I can actually merge them. So in order to do that, you can click on this and say compact table. Okay. So here you have got even lesser cells. See that 40 to 60 and greater than 60 has become greater than 40. It will basically merge all the ones so that your table becomes even simple. Okay, we are done with our decision table. So any questions till now? Okay, I assume it is clear or it is confusing, whatever it is. But it's very simple. It's just like your Excel sheet. And then once we are done, so only thing remaining is to test it. So we will have a BPEL process in which we will use it. I would say decision table, business rule, or say BPEL process. You can have it synchronous or asynchronous, doesn't matter. I'm using the same inputs outputs, but it could be different also. Okay, done. Other day we have seen the problem. There is a problem with business rules in JDeveloper. I mean, it is not a runtime, but the only thing is design time is not very stable. So if you can do it like human tasks, okay. So you can actually drag and drop your business rule from the SOA components and do it. But since we have already seen it, we'll do the basic way. So wire it from your BPEL process. Okay. So you will have this partner link. Let me move it to the other swim link so that it is easy. Then I'll have an invoke. I will say invoke BR business rule. On this, what is my input? Keep as simple as it is. And then what is your output? Okay. And then say okay. Now you have to assign your inputs and outputs, right? So assign activity. I would say assign BR input. Oh, I'm sorry. So what is that you want to assign? I want to copy the data from the input and then put it into pass it to the service. See, even your business, what is that? Even your business rule is nothing but a service. So it will have its input output. I can actually wire at the element level, or I can even wire at the header level. Say okay. So your input salary designation goes into BR. BR gets invoked and it comes back. Okay. So you have to assign the output, right? So assign your business rule output to BPEL output. So this is your business rule output. Here, output. Okay. Finish it off. Only one thing that you wanted to do extra while calling a business rule is you have to assign the name also. There is something called name here, right? So that is the reason why I asked you to copy it. So this is the name of our business rule, right? So just assign it. So in a single quote, assign. It's like a string. Okay. So when JDeveloper automatically does it for you, it will do this. But here, since it is not doing it, we are doing it. And then it has to be your first assignment. Okay. So nothing. It's basically invoking another service. Only extra thing is, can you call XSLT map other than BPEL editor? No, you cannot call an XSL call a business rule from XSLT unless you write your own XSLT function. Like the default thing doesn't let you do it. So you're done. Let us deploy this. We already started my servers.
Ravi, can you show me one more time the assignment and the notebook?
Okay. Yep. Once you wire it, you get this one, right? So I just used an invoke activity, drag and drop an invoke activity, and then wire it to this. Okay. So you will get this pop-up where you'll create an input variable and output variable, just like any other service. Okay. Just like any other service we have been doing till now. And then input. So basically, what is our input? Like you get salary and bonus here, right? And even your business process also, even your business will also take salary bonus. So basically, I'm mapping my input salary to business rule salary, this one to this one in this assign activity. Okay. So let me show this. Okay. So if I click on this, see, I'm basically mapping the header to header I did because since they're of the same type. But basically, or you can even do designation and salary separate. Okay. And then the only other thing is there is a parameter called name within your input variable of the business rule. So for that one, you need to give the name. Okay. So if you want to show me where this name came from, like in your composite, when you first drag and drop a business rule, okay, and let's say you have selected your input and output. In the advanced section, there is a default name. You can always modify it to say my business rule function or say service. Okay, so basically this is the service name that you want to give, you want to pass as a name in the assignment. Okay, so here, so this name will be basically the service name. And then output is whatever output you get. You are getting bonus as the output, right? That you are assigning to the output variable. Okay. Okay, looks like the comment is done. Okay, this open. And parallelly, I'm using Composer also. I'm opening Composer for the data usage. Okay, so this is my enterprise manager. Go into Quality Batch 1, decision service example. Okay, I just want to test it. Okay, give me any random value, say associate. Okay, and salary say 56,893, 895, whatever it is, and say test. Okay, let's see what should come. So this is my business rule. Got stuck. Okay, let me open the Excel sheet. So it is associate, which is A, and then it is 50,000, right? So it is like 40 to 60. So it should come into this cell, whatever is this value, should come out. Okay, let's see what is the value, then when it opens, we'll see. Okay, so if you see the invoke value, okay, it is 6. So let's see if it is correct or wrong. Okay, so we said associate and we said it's like 56,000, so it comes to R5 and R5 is 6. Okay, so let's say your management decides that to be like 7.5 or say whatever it is. So just go to your SOA Composer. So your management will have access to this. Click into the service that you want, decision service example. Go to your rule. Okay, so whatever you see in your JDeveloper will have almost the same screen here. Okay, so what you can do is there should be something called create session. Okay, basically you're starting a session. I mean starting a editing session. And now what is that you want? Associate, and this one you want to modify, right? So here, just click on that, say, in my case, I want it to be 9. Okay, say enter, and then you save it. Okay, and you publish it. And give some comments. Okay, so the same request, I'm doing it again, but this time it should come as 9. There you go. Okay, so this, like you can edit it at runtime, but one thing you wanted to understand is uh, how easy to create a decision table. So mostly in your business processes, you would be using decision table. Okay, because the most best answer would be it is very easy to create, number one, because you can have things like value sets and all, which can be very, because it gives you hints. Okay, so you don't have to worry. Okay, and then it tells you like if you have missed anything or if there is a conflict. Okay, and then it's very readable, and then it's also editable at runtime. So this is how you create a decision table. Okay, and then now, so any questions till now? Okay, I assume that is no questions. Okay, now we have been doing like simple assignments till now, right? Like in our case, like bonus, we're just assigning the value, but it could be even more complicated. Let's say if it's program and analyst and say 30,000, instead of just 8, it is even more complicated. Like you want to send, you have a very complicated logic, business logic. Okay, so in that case, what you do is, so instead of this, you will create a function with all the business, with all the logic you want. So just say plus, it's my own function, say my function, and then here you will create all your functions. Okay, and then in your rule set, instead of this, what you do is you'll create the functions. Okay, so you'll call, say, my function. In my case, let's say this function has two arguments, say salary and say bonus. Sorry, say designation. Okay, I'm not giving the uh, body, but I'm just showing you. Let's say there is a function which takes in salary designation. You have all the complex business logic within this defined. Okay, so you can define, say, what you want, say expression, whatever. Okay, I'll show you an example, but I'm just telling you. Okay, so you define all your function complex logic here. Okay, and then it will return you something back to the caller. So here, instead of directly assigning it, what I would do is I'll call that function. So go to functions and say my function of what is this? This is salary. Salary is from my input, right? So I would say instead of salary, I have the input decision service input. I'm sorry, where is the input? Variables, input, the salary, comma, designation. Okay, so designation. And we say, okay, see. So in this, it comes to this condition, and here it goes to this function. Similarly, you may have other function for other things. Okay, so that is how you use functions. I won't be doing that example here, but every step-by-step process is in my blog. Okay, I should have sent you in the morning. I mean, I think I sent you this morning. So here, what I'm doing is I'm creating a function called determine deadline. Okay, so in my let's say I'm creating a ticketing service. Okay, like people log a ticket, right? And then the ticket has escalation points. So first deadline, second deadline, and third deadline. For each deadline, you would have some uh, actions to be taken. Okay, so for that you want to know what is the deadline, right? So this function is basically that. The function is basically called determine deadline. Okay, and it has three deadlines. First deadline is just 1 day, second deadline is 14 days, third deadline is 56 days. Okay, so how do I get the deadline? I'll get the, so it is something like this. I mean, you have your input. So in the input, you have the creation date, right? So you send the creation date to this business rule. So this business rule will calculate the next deadline, okay, and it will compare with the current date, and it will tell you whether it is a first deadline, second deadline, or a third deadline. Okay, so that is what this does. So I'm creating a function here, and inside this, so basically I'm getting the date. So what I'm doing is assign new. I'm getting a string, right? So I'm converting it into basically a date format, and then I'm adding dates. Okay, so in my case, I want to determine first deadline. So it is like current date plus 1. Okay, and then I'm returning it. So this is how you define functions. So just to make it even more complex, what you do is my first deadline or second deadline shouldn't be a weekend, right? So after this, you check if this particular first deadline is Sunday or Saturday. You'll have functions within your this one, okay, within your business rule. If it is Saturday or Sunday, or if it is Saturday, you want to add 2 more days because you want to make it Monday. If it is Sunday, you want to add 1 day to make it Monday. Okay? So that's how you define your thing. And then finally, how you call it, like we have just seen, right? So you can practice this example. First of all, practice this if else and decision tables. Mostly like 90% of the times you would be doing decision tables, and maybe 5% of times if else conditions, and less than 5% of times you will go to functions. Okay, because if you want to have even more complicated logic which cannot be done in a business rule, you will implement a Java function and call a Java activity within your build process. Okay, but why you want to use business rule is when you do it in Java, like you cannot edit it at runtime, whereas if you do it in business rule, you can edit it at runtime. Okay, so that is one example that you can do it. And there is another concept called parametric roles. Okay. Yeah, actually this thing is like too much for your level now, because basically we are beginners now. But once you are familiar with human tasks and business rules, okay, this is one of the very good application of both your human tasks and business rules. So in this, what these guys are doing is like you are assigning, like we have seen, right, how to assign a human task to a particular user or a group or an application role. Correct, we were determining his manager dynamically, etc. But if you want to determine the person dynamically, okay, based on some logic, let's say if it is, say in this case only, if it is programmer, analyst, and so your HR manager has to be some X. Okay, so you want something like this. Now this doesn't have any logic, right? It doesn't have any get manager or something like that. You have some constant values like this. These are the HR managers. Okay. In this case, for how you assign is basically using a parametric role. So this block, I'll give you this link also. This is like a very advanced concept. It is used in BPM, but you can also use it in your SOA. Just keep a note of it. Okay, when you are really very familiar with SOA, you're doing projects, just try to implement this. Okay, so if you really understand this and do it, like you're complete with the business rules. Okay? I'll send you both the links, but this one you do it right away once you understand. Parametric roles, I don't think like it makes any sense right now, but just keep in mind. Okay, that's all for today. Any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, then we will meet tomorrow. Tomorrow or okay, tomorrow we will look at BAM or business activity monitoring. Okay, and day after, please try to make it to the session, because we will look at something called SAML. Okay, or in other words, like we will look at the security policies. Okay, and SAML is one of the uh, very good security policy, and we'll see how we apply security policies. And for using SAML with message protection, like we have to do so many things, like setting up key stores, things like that. Okay, actually that is not part of the course, but I wanted to tell you because when it comes, like it really takes time to understand. So I just want to let you know so that it might be helpful for you in the future. So there will be 3 more sessions. Tomorrow is PAM, day after is SAML, and the day after that is SDOs. SDOs are like very rarely used, but since that is part of the course, I'll just let you know. There you will understand little bit of ADF also, application development framework, and that's all. Like we have 3 more sessions. And so any questions you have anytime, you can just mail me and I will respond to that. And meanwhile, during the classes, if you have anything, you can do it immediately. Okay.